Hi everyone, happy Monday. Today I'm sharing a wall decor project I made as a new design team member for Amanda at Create with Scrimpingmommy. This piece was inspired by Paula Cheney, who is a maker for Tim Holtz. About a year ago, Tim Holtz came out with these etc. tiles, and Paula created this beautiful piece with them. And I loved it and wanted to make one for myself. So I bought a set of these tiles, but as part of Amanda's design team, I wanted to support her philosophy of using what you have, a little DIY, and crafting on a budget, as well as showcasing several of her lovely digital images. So I created the tiles out of chipboard that I had cut off the back of a pad of watercolor paper. And I used a very wide variety of her digital papers. I have flowers from a Christmas freebie from last year, I think. Christmas toy shop freebies. This is from a peony journaling card freebie. Lots of these draw from the journaling tag mega bundle. This is the only piece of my own scrapbook paper stash that I use. The rest of it is all Amanda's. The Secret Garden kit features in here. A few of those papers, both the kit itself as well as an add-on freebie that she posted. Book Lovers Emporium is from these two are from there, which was a great little kit with miniature book covers in it. Very fun. This is from the Dapper Gent collage freebie. Vintage wallpaper freebie. The guest checks freebie. Those were really cute. This is toile envelopes freebie. And this was a purple collage freebie. So many of them were freebies, as you heard, either from her coffee site or her Facebook page, and I will link both of those below this video. Such a wide variety of paper kits, but you can see they blend together well. I was trying to replicate Paula's rainbow color pattern, and I had fun combing through all of my Amanda papers for similar colors. So stay tuned, and I will show you the process of making this cute wall decor piece. I am going to start by using this wood panel. You can buy these at the Dollar Tree in the US for $1.25, or you could use a canvas. You could also just use another piece of cardboard and then set it inside of a frame. See how Paula put hers inset inside of a frame? You could do that, whatever you'd like. Okay, to begin with, I wanted an elevated platform for all of my pieces to go on. I'm doing it just like she did. I'm measuring my pieces the same as hers, even though I'm cutting my own instead of using the Tim Holtz ones. So I'm going to do 3 by 3 for the whole piece, but I wanted that whole grid to be elevated just slightly above my wood board. So I have this chipboard, which is just the backing of a pad of paper, cut to 7.5 by 7.5, which is the measurement of 3 of these 2.5-inch squares across. So 7.5 by 7.5 for the base, and then I'm cutting enough of these squares. I don't need 9 because some are elevated, some are directly on this platform. So I cut 6 squares. Okay. And then out of the center, I cut 1.5-inch squares. And some of them one of them I left as a square, and the other 4 I cut into little house shapes. So let me show you how they are going to lay out, and then I'll offer some suggestions for cutting, because it is a little tricky to cut chipboard, and you don't want to have any injuries. I have already painted the edge of one, so bear with me on that one. So the arrangement that I'm going to do, similar to hers, or similar to Paula's, but I don't want to cut any curves with my X-Acto knife, so I'm not doing hearts or circles the way she did. I'm doing only houses and a square. And then I'm leaving these like a frame. So this is how that's going to fit in here to be. And then there will be pattern papers both underneath and on top of the frames, as well as all of the layered pieces. And I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to give you some tips on cutting into your chipboard safely. Piece. What I learned the other day when I was doing this is it is really tricky and dangerous when you have this small square to cut the center out. You run a really high risk of cutting yourself. I should have done these, I should have done the grid and then done the whole cutting out of the centers before I cut the individual squares apart. That would have been much safer. So that's what I'm going to do here. Now I need a 1.5 inch piece. There, so come in 1/2 inch on all those sides. Oops, a little bit crooked there. I'm not going to lie, it is labor intensive. You may just decide to go shopping and go pick up the Tim Holtz piece. But I figured, you know, it's a challenge, right? So I'm going to cut this one out and show you how I do that. To make it so that I don't cut too far into the corners and cut off an edge, what I'm going to do first is poke a hole in the corners of that inner square, and that will help me when I'm cutting to stop at that hole. And you cut along your ruler very carefully, and you still have to watch where you're going, but it helps to have that dot in there because you can kind of feel where it drops into it. And there you have it. Now, this is thinner chipboard than I used to cut mine. So what you'll do is just several shallow cuts until you get through there, and just keep going around until you get it, and then pop it out. And then you'll be sanding the edges with a little bit of sanding paper. And since you're going to be painting the edges of all of the pieces inside and out and covering the face with paper, any mistakes or any imperfections will be covered up, so don't worry about that. But this is a safer way to cut your pieces. Cut the insides out of every one and then cut the pieces apart. It is much safer that way. And I'll meet you back here when my pieces are the edges are all painted, and I will show you the papers that I've chosen for my piece. So while all my chipboard pieces are drying, I'm going to cover the outside of my board. You can paint this, you can cover it with tissue paper, whatever you want to do. I'm using collage tissue. This is another Tim Holtz design, but you could do any tissue paper you like, or you can just paint it plain. So what I have done is cut 2 strips that are long that will make it all the way around the corners on the 2 sides, and then I have 2 shorter strips that I'll fill in the gaps with. Freebie, I pulled in little elements from just about everything that I could find, and I was following along similar to Paula Cheney's design. using sort of a rainbow pattern. So I was pulling, you know, what pinks I could find, what reds, what peaches or oranges, what yellows, greens, turquoise, light blue, darker blue, and purple. And I went through all of Amanda's kits that I have and tried to pull elements that would work. And then I cut out the pieces that I would need. So for a piece like a frame that's going to get, it's going to need a piece to cover the frame, which will be, in this case, it'll be this one. And then it will need the pieces that go inside the frame. And for this one, I fussy cut the flower, and then I needed a background for it. And I think this is going to go down here like that. So I'll cut off the top of that tag, and it'll just slightly show through there, but it's a little bit pink. And then this will be cut out and put on the outside of the frame. And then the ones with the house have a background piece that will go actually on the board, and then the house will get covered with paper and then glued onto that. And then the little butterfly element, I'll just add onto that as another layer, as an embellishment. So that's how I went through and did all of my pieces. And then this very center one is going to have a solid square background, and then that smaller square background glued on. Okay, to cover my frames with the pattern paper, I am going to use glue stick. I'm going to apply glue to the frame. And then apply the frame to the back side of my paper, roughly centering it. And don't worry about any excess that's hanging over or about the center, because when the glue stick is all dry, we are going to sand that off instead of cutting it. So we'll just set those all aside to dry. I'm going to glue all the pieces of paper to my frames, as well as the little house pieces to the house shapes, all in the same manner like that. And then I'll come back. Okay, so this piece is dry, and I'm going to show you how I go through and sand the edges. So basically, I have this sanding block. I'm going around the outside edge. And you can see as you're sanding on an angle here, the paper just sort of comes off. So I do that all the way around the outside edge. There's a little bit of tacky glue under there. It didn't let it dry completely. And then the center part, the way we're going to do that is we're going to cut an X from corner to corner in the inside. And then I have this flat file, or you can use an emery board, and you're just going to push towards the inside along that inner square. And force those pieces of paper to the back of the chipboard. And then that paper will come away as well. Just like that. And then I'll go in and clean up the edges a little bit more if I need to. But it doesn't need to be perfect, because we are going to go through with a little bit of blending tool, or Distress ink to blend it, and that'll be fine. And I'll go through and do this with all of my pieces and all of my frames, and then I will come back and show you what the next step is. Okay, so I'm back and I'm ready to assemble things. I wanted to show you where I left off with the board though. I did end up inking a lot around the edges, and then I lost some of my white, so I added a little more white in places where I wanted to brighten it up. But I attached the thin chipboard, the base for all of my pieces, and I wanted to point out that I inked up the intersection where these pieces are going to come together. Just in case they don't line up perfectly, at least the color underneath is going to be the same as what I used on the borders of the pieces. So I did ink up all of my papers on my pieces inside the frame and out. I added some embellishments on there, and I did attach my pieces to the back of the frames. Since I am kind of the queen of overthinking and indecision, I decided not to take you along for that process. So you're welcome. And I am ready to glue my pieces on. I'm going to place everything down, but I'm going to start gluing these pieces that just go flat onto that grid or the base piece, mainly because since these pieces are elevated, if there's a misalignment, I can fix it a little bit with the ones that get raised up. But I'm going to place them all where they belong first, so that I can see how they're going to work. So I'm going to start one face at a time. Actually, I think these flat pieces I am going to do glue stick. The dimensional pieces I'll add with the liquid glue, but this, I think I'll get more movability. So just line it up with my best I can and move things over. And then see how this one will align. I think that'll be okay. And then just put that down. I wanted to come back and show you the finished results and a little bit of a close-up so you can see the embellishments I put on there, the little buttons, this butterfly. I lifted up his wings, the little bee tied onto the frame, the little crown on the dog, a key for the secret garden, because that's what this kit is from, or this paper is from that kit. These little hearts are tied on, and little buttons and a little piece of lace in there. And I love how it came out, actually. I love the dimension of it, and I like how the base came out. So give it a try. Thanks for coming along. I'll see you next time.